Hey everybody, good afternoon. Welcome to 12-Minute Trading. Today's Tuesday, the 21st of May, and my name's Doc Severson of 12-Minute Trading. So I am going to be here solo today. There's no Dave. So it's just going to be you and me and anybody checking in through the replay later on as well too. So looking to take your questions. Want to walk you through what I'm seeing in the markets in the first few minutes. We'll be here maybe for 20 minutes or so today, just a short update. Want to let you know about some things going on as well too. So let's get into the charts. I'm going to bury myself in the lower left-hand corner, and let's start by looking at the S&P 500 today. Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, so this is the way I look at markets. I look at markets from the monthly perspective, monthly chart over here, weekly chart in the middle, daily chart over here. I can drill down even further if I want to. Typically what I'm looking for is a relationship, a factor of 5 in between these two. There's roughly 4 to 5 weeks in between each month. And there's definitely 5 days or 5 trading days, at least for now, in the equity markets. So there's this relationship of 5 between the two. And I find that if you understand how the time frames work together, I think this can really help you have a better understanding about how markets work. Not necessarily to predict the future. I'm never going to come in here and say that I predict the future, but I can analyze things that make sense for the market to do. And that's half the deal. If you can make sense of the market, if you can understand what's happening real time, the market is always out there trying to tell you what it wants. It's always out there trying to tell you what it wants and what it wants us to do. Many times we don't see that because we have our own confirmation bias, and so we're typically blind to what's happening right in front of our face. If that's never happened to you, you haven't traded for long enough then. All right, so guys, let me know if there's any questions or if any particular topics that you want me to go over, any charts you want me to look at, anything like that. The floor is clear for right now. Okay, so the way I use 3 different time frames here is to look at the trend first of all. What's the trend in the monthly chart? We have higher lows and higher highs. I mean, there we go. We're reaching all-time new highs once again. In fact, as we speak today. What's happening on the trend on the weekly chart? We have trend to the upside, higher highs and higher lows. The polarity is to the upside. What's happening at the daily chart? We have a daily swing to the upside. In fact, the daily uptrend, we have higher highs and higher lows. So you might say that the trend favors the upside right now. So it shouldn't be you've heard the expression, the trend is your friend until the end, those kind of things. So playing along with the trend is, in some ways, it's like if you're going to kayak on a river, which way would you want to kayak down the river? I prefer to go downstream, right? So you can't get into these little eddy pockets where you get, rocks and you got the current swirling around. You can actually go upstream during those areas. But most of the time, it's really tough to do. And that's how we trade. A lot of times is how we trade is we try to go counter the market because we missed out on the move. And so we want to go punish that market. Make it easy on yourself and trade with the trend whenever you can. And it's nice when all 3 of the time frames line up with each other. That's not always the case. And it helps to understand how, if you have a counter trend at one time frame, how does that affect the price? So from there we have, so step number 1 is we have trend. And my rule number 1 of fractal energy trading is the larger time frames will dominate the trend. So we're going to have these pullbacks that show up in the weekly chart. Pullbacks show up in the weekly chart, but the monthly chart saying, hey, I'm in charge here. I want to go higher. I'm in charge here. And so we've generally been in charge on the monthly chart to the upside with occasional pullbacks. Even the pandemic pullback was just, it looks like a blip in the rear view mirror, even though it was one of the toughest pullbacks and toughest little micro bear markets that we've seen in a long, long, long time. But through the benefit of hindsight, we can look at that and say, well, that wasn't really that bad. And yeah, in 2022, we had a bear market. We were down by more than 20% for the better part of a year and a half. And we were making lower highs and lower lows, certainly on the weekly chart. And on the monthly chart as well, too, we were making lower highs and lower lows, but it wasn't really that bad. It was just a very average bear market. So now, there you go. So how do we bring in the second part, the energy? Energy is that range expansion goes to range contraction. So range expansion goes to range contraction. Range expansion goes to range contraction. Range expansion goes to range contraction. And we're in a range expansion mode right now, and I can tell this just by the amount of energy that we have left, which is not that much. So any breakout to the upside maybe has limited potential to go anywhere. We're not starting with a full tank like we were at the beginning of 2023. All of this choppy stuff in the middle here, that is almost like a spring winding up. It's almost like a spring winding up and getting ready to explode. And this is why when we have these kind of things happening here, you have to pay attention to them. The last time we had this was back at the end of 2018, and we certainly had a strong move that came from that. So now we're down at this level here where anything could happen. I'm not predicting a bear from here, but we're getting close to the point of running out of gas to this thing. And we have been for several months now. So now we go over to the weekly chart. The weekly chart is still unfurling a tremendous amount of energy. So this could be good to up to 6,000 or so. We could see this power the market up to about 6,000 or so. And then after that, it's going to be a little bit dicey. And then this is almost like the daily chart is almost like the child in the backseat of your car going on a family road trip, alternately going to be full of energy and ready to go, and alternately going to be fast asleep in the back seat. Can't get them up, can't get them to do anything. So it's just going to be that child time frame is going to oscillate back and forth between states of potential and states of exhaustion. And so when you put everything together, what I see the potential for a little bit of a rest at the daily chart. And what's been happening here? What's been happening over the last 4 days? Market's been asleep. It's in exhaustion. It's doing exactly what it should be doing right now. It's doing exactly what it should be doing. Weekly chart, what's happening? Energy is powering a swing to the upside. It's doing exactly what it should be doing. What's happening at the monthly chart? The monthly chart's pulling all the other charts higher. So this all makes sense. Now, what's going to happen in the next day or so here? Again, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with the Fed minutes tomorrow afternoon. I don't know what's going to happen with NVIDIA earnings. We get to the point of like, well, they can't beat this time. But then again, what you're doing is you're predicting the future again. You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. So I typically don't trade like that. I don't, coin flip events is not something I want to trade because usually all of the edge is baked out of that by those that are making the markets. So I would say, obviously there's two ways that we could go from here. We could either break to the upside, we could break down from here. If we do break down, I believe it's going to be limited. It's going to be limited in potential because I think given the trend, all that trend here, I think all we do maybe is we fill a gap or two and then we take off again. If it breaks higher, I believe the potential for it to go higher is somewhat limited. So we may get into sort of an upside summer grind because there's not much energy here to power the next trend until we do a little bit of a backing and filling. The very fastest way to recharge a chart, which is in exhaustion, which this is right now, is for it to actually go backwards. So if you see the price going backwards on Wednesday night after the earnings come out for NVIDIA, in the futures markets, Thursday morning in the cash market, it's not a bad thing. That may be an excellent time to sell puts or to reinvigorate an existing put selling strategy. That's the way I'm going to look at it. Okay? Any questions on that? That's really all I wanted to go over these days. We're still trading. This morning in the trading room, we got an early entry into the 0 DTE. I think it was, what time did we get in this morning? 9:42. So 9:42, I got in right there, and all of my contracts were closed for my target at 9:55. So that was a 13-minute hold. So that was really good. So we just had a quiet market, and we didn't have any interference. We didn't have any Fed speak coming up. We had fairly low implied volatility, so I wanted to get started with it and get it going. This is what the trade looks like for those of you that haven't done one of these things before. This is an iron fly, and so this is the potential. And so what we're looking to do is to trap the price into a small range. And believe me, these are small ranges these days. We're not seeing a whole lot of movement. So that's good and that's bad, because we are seeing more linear price movement than we were back in like April. April was pretty messy. But we're seeing this is very linear price movement. Very linear. Price comes down to support, bounces off of support. It does what it's supposed to do. When we get into a corrective market, everything's thrown open. You never know what's going to happen with that. So those are some of the things that we're doing in our strategies. We did also have I'm out of the trade now. We had a low probability 5 DTE iron condor that we closed today, I think for about a 13% return. The decay was pretty slow, so the market's kind of holding its breath until tomorrow. So a lot of things are happening with that. Not only the Fed minutes coming out, but also the NVIDIA earnings. It's a big deal. NVIDIA earnings is going to be a big deal. So right now in this sea of calm that we have and the market going sideways, these NVIDIA earnings are the biggest catalyst that we're going to see for quite some time. And then we go into the same old cycle again. We go into the next PPI, CPI, and next jobs report, and next, it's always going to be about inflation. It's always going to be about interest rates. But speaking of interest rates, I haven't looked at this today yet. Let's see what we have. Interest rates have just come down slightly in the last couple of weeks. And this has been after that big jobs report that we had, where the jobs report was showing for the first time a little bit of weakness in the jobs market. So finally, all these rate hikes have been doing their thing. They've been affecting the jobs market and starting to soften things up. So the Fed's trying to do the impossible, which is a soft landing. Other folks that I talk to are already convinced that we are in a recession right now because people are tapped out. And I can see that all the time. You watch TikTok at all or any of these, X videos, and it's like you've got entire Gen Z generations saying, I can't afford to live right now. So they're going to do whatever they have to do to pull back on everything. And that will affect the economy. Okay, so here we go. Price is just trading in a very small range today. So are there any questions? Anything else I can answer for you guys while you're here with me live? Any other charts you want me to look at or any other questions for today? Well, I got you here. I'm going to see what's happening next week. What do we have next week? Next Monday, obviously, is market holiday. Next Monday is market holiday. So let's see. We have next Tuesday, consumer confidence. No big deal. Wednesday, beige book. GDP first revision. No big deal. Next Friday the 31st is going to be the PCE. This is usually what kicks things off. And then the following Friday will be the next jobs report. So this month's jobs report, was it an outlier or was it part of a trend? So the PCE report is going to confirm as to whether or not the CPI and PPI were indeed slowing down or whether that was an outlier. Okay, nothing seen, guys. I want to, just while I got you here, I just want to give you a reminder of something that Dave and I are doing tomorrow, which is the Traders Workshop. So the 2024 Options Trading Mastery Workshop. So this is tomorrow and Thursday. It's a 2-day all digital. It's not going to be all day long. It's going to be like 3 hours per day. And if you can't attend, there's going to be archive videos, which you'll get access to almost immediately. It's going to be 4 of us doing this. So Jeff Tompkins, myself, Dave Lukas, Steve Primo. So Steve Primo is going to be starting things off at 11 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow, mastering timeless trading methods. So looking at repeating patterns, strategies, and rules mastery. So what you get with us tomorrow with Dave and myself, Dave's going to go over his double-double strategy, which he's been doing for decades now, very successfully. And I will also show you zero DTE. I'll show you the strategy for zero DTE. And then on Thursday, we get advanced market forecasting techniques with Jeff Tompkins, and then we do a roundtable on Thursday afternoon. This is your chance to put it all together. So you get 2 days of this. It's not overwhelming, right? So some of these things are like 5 days, 8 hours a day, and you just get lost in all the information. So this is very, very targeted. So you get one dude showing you setups, us showing you strategies and how to do it. And it's I think, a really nice way to get things done here. So let's see. I'm going to copy this over here into the room as a link that you can just click on if you want more information on this. Again, it's only $97 to join this, which is, it's just a one-time payment for $97. And earn a skill for life. Learn a skill for life, guys. Okay, back to the middle here. One last look at markets here for today. I'm going to look at, I'm going to see what the NASDAQ is doing. Now, last time I looked, the S&P and the NASDAQ were making new highs. Yep, NASDAQ's into all-time new highs. And the Dow and the Russell were not. The Dow's finally hit all-time new highs, and let's see what the Russell's doing. Russell's doing what Russell does best. Russell's been untradeable for the last 2 years, which makes more sense because if you think about it, all of the market cap in the Russell 2000, when you put it all together, does not add up to Apple. So why care about the Russell 2000 anymore? That used to be the source of alpha, right? You used to go into the Russell to, because everything else was kind of locked up, and you'd go into the Russell for, gains above and beyond the S&P. And now you just can't do that. Okay, very flat day. We're finishing out as a very flat day. There's just a little over an hour left today. And this is what I would expect to see going into Fed minutes. It's amazing to me that anybody at all cares about the Fed minutes. You've got a whole parade of Fed speakers out there. There's no doubt at all as to what happened in the Fed meeting, but still people obsess over it. It's amazing. So that comes out tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern time. And then, of course, NVIDIA earnings comes out. And I believe they come out right after the bell. Apple's weird like that. Apple waits till 4:30 Eastern time. Everybody else kind of does it right after the bell. I think NVIDIA is one of those that comes out right after the bell. Okay, guys, nothing seen, nothing heard. Hopefully somebody's out there Thanks for listening today, for not only those of you that join me live, but also those of you that are watching through the replay. Hope you guys have a great week. And as always, we are here to help. If you have any questions, reach out to us. And my personal email, doc@12minutetrading.com. Thanks, everybody. You guys take care. Bye now.